So
If we're having any doubts and anxieties and you're worried and all this and that and the other, just think why you're doing it. No one's forcing you to do it. No, if you've been matched to a fight and you're thinking, oh, I'm really nervous, I'm really worried, no one's forcing you to do it. You're doing it because you love it. You love it and you want to test your skills against someone else's. All these things you learn in the gym, you want to put your skill set to the test and see what you've been learning and put it into action. So no one's forcing you to do it. I always say that. So just think why you're doing it.
So I'm here with Muay Thai living legend, 8 times world champion. And according to Wikipedia, I went through the list, and they tracked down 117 fights. I don't know how many they missed off, but
118.
118, right? Yeah. So with 90 wins, of which 44 KOs/TKOs, an incredible ambassador for the sport, for British fighters, and an inspiration for all fighters, especially this next generation that's coming through now. So Liam, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Anytime, not a problem.
Originally, these podcast conversations focus on exploring the mindset of fighters to understand some of their biggest challenges and the strategies that they've used to overcome them. And I've interviewed over 200 fighters, and I don't think I've ever encountered anyone who's been as vulnerable publicly and articulate about mindset, nor as passionate and giving advice as you have, Liam. So it's a great honor, and it's a special one for me to have you here today. I've actually interviewed you a couple of times at the Muay Thai Grand Prix in some of the post-fights.
Yeah.
But I've never had really the opportunity to sit down with you, and get some of the juice of some of my questions. Yeah. So Liam, to set some context about the journey that fighters have been on, and for your one, I find it very powerful to understand a little bit about their younger formative years, first of all. So what context do we need to understand about you, about your early years, to get a better understanding of the fighter and the businessman that you are today?
In my early years, mate, I were a bit of a little bastard, to be honest. I were a bit of a naughty kid. I were never I wasn't too bad. I wasn't out of control, but I were always mischievous. I were always up to no good. I were always getting into trouble. But I found Muay Thai when I was 13 years old, and that I were knocking around with quite a few dodgy people, and it could have turned pretty ugly if I'd have stayed knocking around with the group of people that I were. A lot of them ended up in jail, and some of them are still in and out of jail now, and even at the age we're at and stuff. So they weren't really a group of nice people, to be fair. But yeah, as soon as I found Muay Thai, I was 13 when I started, and then I just fell in love straight away. So it were everything else had to take a back step and became second to it. So when all my friends were out running around on the streets and getting up to no good, I was in the gym because I was just in love with the sport. I loved fighting. I loved every single thing about it, and it just took over my life from an early age. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it, really. As soon as Muay Thai came into it, up until I was about 15, I was still getting up to no good. And then after that, I remember I'd done something, and my dad took me down to the gym, and he just said to Richard, he went, "Listen, I found out he's been getting up to no good here. You better tell him now. If this happens again, he can't ever come in this gym." So Richard went, "Listen, you want to run around being bad and doing this and that, you won't be able to train in this gym if you do." And I was like, "Fuck shit!" I was like, I can't risk losing this sport. I love it so much. And then that were it. Then that were it. I stopped knocking around with them kids. I were in the gym all the time. Every spare minute I got was spent there. And yeah, that's it, really.
And you mentioned your father. What was the relationship like with him?
And amazing. He's been an amazing father. Also always so supportive. He's travelled around the world to watch me fight. He's come to Japan, Italy, Singapore, France, just to name a few places. Yeah, he's travelled all over. He was there at my very first professional fight when I was 14.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been an amazing role model, and he's been great to have him be by my side throughout my whole career. If I fight in Thailand again this year, I'm pretty sure he'll be there then as well.
Mm-hmm. And before your fighting career, had you travelled around the world much?
No, I had not all really. I've been on family holidays with mum and dad around Europe. We usually go to Spain or somewhere like Spain, Portugal, places like that. They were the only places I'd been, really. And then obviously when becoming a professional fighter, my first ever fight abroad, I was 17, and it was in Japan, Tokyo, Japan.
Amazing.
Against the ranked #1 Japanese fighter. Mm-hmm. So I'd only been pro. I had my first pro fight a week before my 15th birthday, so I'd only been pro 2 years. And then the
Mhm.
next thing, I'm fighting all these fights, and the next thing, I'm in Tokyo, Japan, fighting against the ranked #1 guy. It was just surreal. I was like, "What the fuck's going on here? This is absolutely insane."
Yeah.
And what even more insane, I ended up knocking him out in round three, and it was hard for me to
Mhm.
comprehend what was actually going on. And then at the time, I don't think I realised how big an actual deal it was. Um, because if someone did that nowadays, it'd be all
Mm.
over every news outlet and every
Mhm.
multimedia outlet everywhere. But
Yeah.
there were none of this social media back then. This was, we're 17. This was 21 years ago. There
Yeah.
was none of this social media business everywhere where everyone knows. There was
Mhm.
one forum called That's Kickboxing where people went to look what were happening in the world of Muay Thai. That was
Yeah.
it. Remember
Yes.
that?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's where everyone went to look, and then there were none of this Instagram and all these
Yeah.
pages and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so at the time, I don't think I quite comprehended how much of a big deal it was, like traveling around to these places and
Yeah.
stuff, and I was
Mm.
just going with it.
Yeah. And did you find it quite given that lack of publicity, available publicity, did you find it quite lonely? That
Uh,
warrior journey, the
yeah, probably, yeah, because I wasn't doing it for any attention. I wasn't doing it for any fame. I wasn't doing it for money. I
Mhm.
was just doing it because I loved fighting, and fighting is a lonely sport, and you have to
Yeah.
sort of come to terms with that. It's lonely, and you have to be, as a start fighter, you have to be selfish, and a lot of times you have to put yourself first because you getting in there with and putting your health on the line and your well-being on the line. That you have to be a bit selfish sometimes. So when I were around that age, like obviously I might be seeing a couple of girls and that, but there were nothing ever too serious because I had to put my fighting first. I had
Yes.
to put the gym first. And to be fair, I was just that obsessed with it. I didn't really care about anything else other than fighting anyway, really, to be fair.
Yeah. So, traveling to Singapore, Thailand, China, Japan, Malaysia, did that what did you take away from those experiences?
Uh,
What if
yeah,
anything?
I've took different things away from different places. Like every different race of people you meet are all different. It's nice to go say to Thailand and see how they live, and then you go to Japan, and Japan's crazy. Everyone's scurrying around at the trains and stuff like that. Everyone's just
Yeah.
looking at the phone.
Yeah.
And then obviously you in America, fought in America and Canada and all those places. It's just nice to go around, see all the different how they all live and different countries and taking all the sights, and it makes you realise how shit England is. To be fair, when you see all these
Yeah.
beautiful places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a great time, and I still love traveling now. I love going to new places, and I
Yeah.
love fighting in front of different crowds because even the crowds are different when you fight in Tokyo. When I fought in
Mhm.
Japan, I think I fought in Japan 4 or 5 times now, and those fans they sort of like sit in silence unless the
Yes.
fight gets
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really crazy.
Mhm.
And the first time I fought there, I thought it was really weird when everyone was deadly silent. And I said to
Mm.
Richard before I went out, I said to him, I remember saying it, I said, I'm going to get these all stood up on their feet by the time I'm finished. And in my fight were a bit of a crazy war. And at the end of it,
Mhm.
everyone was stood up clapping, and I was proper buzzing with myself that I'd made them
Yeah.
actually get up out of the seat and start clapping because you never see them do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good. You always you meet different people, you see different things.
Mhm.
It's enlightening and it opens up your eyes to just how different people live. It's nice.
Yeah, and I understood you had quite an enjoyable time out in Canada with Kieran. You mentioned
Yeah,
you loved
yeah.
it. He's from city life out in the sticks, in the mountains and the lakes, right?
Yeah, beautiful place. I've never been to the west coast of Canada before. I've been to the east
Mm.
coast a few times, but yeah, the scenery and the nature and everything out there, I loved it.
Yeah. You're one of the leading figures in speaking about mental health. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's especially in a sport where typically the mental health issues bit taboo, not spoken of. And you use this analogy of like the devil and the angel on the shoulders. Um, can you describe a little bit, the devil and how it manifests itself with you, throughout your life, especially like during a fight camp, for example?
I suppose it takes different forms when I say something like that because you've got one that'll be like, for a certain form, it could be like saying like, you want to eat that shit food. You want to go out with your friends. You want to go drink. You want to go to that party. You want to go here. You want to go there. You want to do that. And if I'll do that, it'll be all right. Do that, it'll be all right. You just eat that burger, it'll be all right. but it won't be all right. You can't live like that. Your life,
Yeah.
you either live it like a fighter or you don't live it at all. You can't do both. You can't burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And then it also might show its head in like the form of anxieties and worries about the fight, saying you can't beat this guy will beat you. We will. What if
Mhm.
so there's different types of the devil that'll pop up
Yeah.
throughout your fight, throughout your life, throughout your fight career,
Mhm.
and things like that. You know what I mean? Like obviously that one is the first one when you start having doubts and doubting yourself. Um, I'm guessing all fighters will get some form of doubts at some time. If they say they're not, they're probably lying. Uh, but you just need to have a bulletproof mindset and just like flip that one off its shoulder and just listen to this one that's telling you you've done
Yeah.
all this work. You fought guys like him before. You didn't listen when this little devil were telling you to go out drinking. You didn't listen when this little devil were telling you to go eat shit. You
Mhm.
did get up at 5 a.m. when this devil were telling you to stay in bed. Dad, stay in bed, you're tired today. It don't matter.
Mhm.
You did get up and you do your run. So as long as you've listened to this one on this shoulder,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you shouldn't be doing all these things because you're listening to any of these devils or angels, or you're trying to account to someone. The only person you got to account to is yourself. And there's
Yes.
nothing worse than going into a fight thinking, "Oh, you know what, I'm not 100% here." Because I've done that. I've took fights on late notice. I've had a lot of fights in my career, and I've took fights on late
Mm.
notice, on a week's notice, knowing I haven't been fit. And I thought, you know, fuck it, I'll just take a chance. And sometimes I've it's pulled off, and then other times I've lost hideously.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's not a nice feeling going into a fight knowing that you are not firing on all cylinders at 100%.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's there. It's tough when you've got the little voice in your head telling you one thing, but
Yeah.
like I say, as long as you listen to this one, it should be all good.
And how has your relationship with the devil angel changed over the years? Like, for example, let's just take last year, for example, your recent fights. Is that are you still strong? Are they as powerful? Do they have as does the devil still have that the negative and the doubt and the fears? Does that subside over time, or does it even
It's
in your
always
last
there.
fights? Is it's always there, and is it just as
Yeah,
profound? Is it just as powerful?
no, it's always there. I always have a little bit. My brain is like a washing machine. All my thoughts are scattered all over. And if I walk past, like, say, my missus will be having a takeaway, my brain will go eat some of that, eat it, go and eat it. And I
Mhm.
act impulsively sometimes. And I'll even pick it up and I go, "No, what the fuck are you doing? Put that down."
Yeah,
So I have little moments, lapses like that.
yeah,
As for me, as for the guy that is going, "Oh, can you beat this guy?" Blah blah. Nah, that sort of like disappears with time. It's like I say, the guy will still be there saying the
mhm,
same thing if I haven't put the work in. But my mindset and my work ethic has always been the same throughout my career. I've always worked hard. I've
yeah,
always tried to make sure I'm in 100% the best shape I can be. I always
mhm,
train. The only thing it's been around for recently is because I've been injured and it's been doing my nothing.
yeah,
So I've had doubts like saying, like, can you get back from this injury? Are you going to be able to be like,
yeah,
will you be the same when you get back?
mhm,
That's been a hard thing to try and deal with and to try and get myself back to the full fitness through this injury and things like that. That's been one of the
yeah,
toughest
yeah.
things I've ever had to do in not just my career, in probably in my entire life.
Mhm. Well, when we spoke after your victory at the MTGP, it was just after COVID, and you were quite honest in that interview about the effect that being away from the sport for that time had on you mentally. You know, can you share a little bit about that? Was it what was it
Yeah, I
that?
lost my mind. It was fucking horrendous. I had to speak to a counsellor and everything because I'd gone from being 14 years old, training twice a day, every single day, to being locked in my house. And my brain, if it isn't occupied by, look, I've got all sorts going on at the minute. I'm a
Mm,
professional fighter. I'm training for a fight. I've got my Hitman Fight League promotions. I do podcasts. I've got seminars all over the world. I'm in Colombia next week. I'm in Dubai
mm,
the week after. I've got my own show the week after that. I then will go into fight camp for my fight. I need my brain engaged with
yeah.
all different things all the time.
Mhm,
So when that happened, I had loads of fights lined up. I had a WBC Diamond Belt. I had fights with one championship. So when that happened, and I'm just locked in my house, I'm thinking, oh, this will be over any day now. And then
mhm,
just going out for walks and that with a dog, it won't cutting it for me. And I was thinking, where can I engage my brain? And my head just fell off totally because I didn't have anywhere to. I'm always full of energy and
yeah.
stuff,
Mhm,
and this is probably to do with my ADHD. I need to be aiming it at something and everything had just been taken away. And obviously, it wasn't just for me; it's the same for everyone. But I
Yes.
just didn't know how to cope with being honestly, if I ever went to jail, I don't know what I would do there. Honestly, if I got locked away like that, because I couldn't like I had nowhere to focus any of my energy, all this energy that I had, all this mental capacity, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. I mean, I just totally fell off.
So, I heard you also mention, potentially 1 or 2, maybe 3 fights next year. You mentioned Sexan as a possible, way to end this illustrious career. Does that almost frighten you a bit, coming to retirement? Given that your need to want, you need an outlet for that energy. Are you embracing that date, or are you more fearful of
No, I don't want to retire. I've done this since I was 14 years old. I'd body willing, I'd go until I were 80 if I could, but you have to accept that I'm 38 now and I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago. And my body's not the same. However, at the minute, I am feeling the best I have felt in about 4 years, my knee. Because I've had knee problems for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been fighting with one leg for most of that time. And I've still managed to do all right until I got my last fight against Noro.
I saw
I think
that,
I were on a 5 or 6 fight win spree with one leg before that. And then it all just came to an end with that one. And it's been hard coming back from it. So what I don't want to happen is, because I've got such a good thing going with my seminars and my other things, I were on crutches for like 3 months. I were out of the gym for 5 months. I couldn't teach for 5 months. I don't want to be just sat. I've just told you then how hard I find it just sat around doing nothing. That was my worry before, when I said at the beginning of the year, this might be my last fight. However, at the minute, I went to Costa Rica for stem cell treatment on my knee, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. So at the minute, I'm feeling good again. I'm feeling back to my old self a little bit, like I was.
How's the knee now?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm training hard. Everything's going well again. So we'll see. And like I say, if it's my last Muay Thai fight, it don't mean I've got to stop competing. There's lots of crossover boxing fights and stuff that have been offered to me in the past. I was going to fight Floyd Mayweather last year, but obviously I couldn't because of my knee. So even if it's my last Muay Thai fight, it don't mean that I'll have to stop competing, and that's what I'd miss. I'd miss the pushing myself and the having a goal and something to aim for and things like that. So just because I can't fight Muay Thai anymore, I don't mean I can't fight at all. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Because a lot of times with fighters, when they end their career, because they've identified so much as a fighter, that it creates these new challenges. Like when someone comes back from the military, they're so used to being in uniform. Then when they become civilians again, they have these mental issues because they're so identified with that.
Yeah.
Is that
sorry, go on.
I was going to ask, is that what is driving you in these other ventures with the seminars, with the Hitman Fight League, but I'm assuming you're coaching along the way as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've always said for ages, fighters have a shelf life. So I've spent a lot of my time making sure I've got a good thing going with my seminars and with my coaching, and that I'm sought after. So when I do retire, that I'll still be able to be involved in the sport. I'll still be training the fighters in our gym. I'll still be around it every day. I'll still be promoting, so I'll still be around it that way. And just because I'm not actually being in there myself fighting and having all the limelight on me, at least I'll still be around it and I'll have stuff to keep me the brain engaged and things like that.
Yeah. So the Hitman Fight League, it burst onto the scene and we're seeing it everywhere now. Can you give us a little insight as to how that came about, and also, what was the intention of it? What's the plans?
Yeah, so me, Andy, Simon Jays, Andy and Simon just approached me and just said, listen, I think we can start something big here. And I said, yeah. I said, let's do it. I said, let's go for it. So we had his first show last April. So we hadn't even been around a year. We've only been around 10 months. We had his first show last April, and we've just got big. The second one were bigger in June. And then we had the Hitman Fight League working with CFS in November, which was huge. And now this one, we are now working alongside One Championship. So we're just going from strength to strength. And we've all got the same goal, me, Andy, Simon and Ricky. That's the team behind Hitman Fight League. We've all got the same goal. We want to work with all the other promoters. We don't want to be. That's the problem in England. All these politics and promoters trying to stab other promoters in the back and it'd be snidey and shit like that. It's fucking pathetic. It's like school kid stuff. So we're working with Rory at CFS. We're now working with Kieran over in Canada and doing bits there with the tournament format. We're working alongside One Championship. And if you do this, we're going to have better opportunities for our fighters. And that should be the goal for everyone, not just try to line your pockets and make a quick buck. You'll make some money along the way if you do it right and you do it properly. You work with everyone and you get the good opportunities.
As the water rises, all the boats, you know.
Exactly, mate. Exactly that.
100%.
Instead of just trying to fucking sink everyone else and leave you at the top, that's not good for everyone because fighters need to have regular big shows. And it's nice at the minute. There's Hitman Fight League, and there's Muay Thai Grand Prix, and there's CFS. So there's good shows in the UK where fighters can get on these shows. There's Victory Promotions up north with Craig Horsey and that. So it's good that everyone's working together.
And it's genuinely giving these fighters a path to the One Championships, to the global scene, which they never really had before. But now that One Championship has just done so well, and to have you, like, I know Kieran's show, like you say, your show, the MTGP, having these affiliations and doing these projects with One Championship, that all the fighters around is like, wow, if I do well here, this is, I'm 1 or 2 steps removed from, from going to the big stage.
Exactly. And like you just mentioned there, if you want to get on the Friday shows on One Championship, you need to be in Thailand, you need to be at a good level, you need to have the promoters know who you are. There's a lot of guys who have full-time jobs in England, but still very talented fighters who could go somewhere on these shows. So now, if they get in our tournaments, they don't have to fly to Thailand. They don't have to leave the job. They can still turn up in this tournament, win it, and then they get flown to Thailand. Then they get paid more than they ever paid to fight on the Friday shows, and then they get the chance to shine, and they might not have to go to work anymore, and they might be able to go to the gym full-time because they're getting more money and stuff. That's the goal here. I want to make as many good opportunities as we can. So from this next show, whoever wins the one tournament at 58 kilos, they go straight to Thailand and One Championship. They'll be getting paid a very good wage as well. And then the guy who wins the 77 kilogram tournament, they fly straight to Kieran. Whoever wins Kieran's tournament gets a full contract, $100,000 contract.
That 6-fight contract, yeah.
So this is what we've all got the same goal here. Like me, Kieran, the other guys who are working alongside each other within this tournament that Kieran's doing, because there's the tournament in Canada, tournament in England, tournament in America, and a tournament in Australia, I believe. And everyone will then fight on Kieran's for the big contract. So it's exciting time for our fighters. It's amazing time. It's really exciting, and and not only that, we've then got back in April. So we've got this show in February, and then in April we go back down south again, and we're doing the Hitman Fight League versus CFS again. So the 2 of the biggest shows coming together again. So there's just opportunities everywhere for fighters all over the place now. So it's an exciting time for UK.
Right. So just going back to mindset, I love that fighters are now doing a lot more to train their minds. And I've actually been in the business myself for over a decade. And now that the science is catching up with it, this is not just, okay, hippy dippy shit. There's actually science to, to prove from it. My coaching style is not hypnotherapy. And I know that you've been doing work with Vinny on that front. And I want to get into that in a little bit, but I work with mindfulness and thought management. And so I'm currently working with Liam Nolan, Mo Abdurrahman, who I see recently joined the Hitman promotion, and Felipe Lobo, who's got the biggest fight of his year.
Oh, he's fighting Haggerty,
yeah, he's fighting Haggerty for the belt.
Nice.
That's going to be awesome. But if you could do it all again, if you could start doing it, how much focus would you, or more focus would you spend on training the mind? And that, from you, if you were to go back and do it again, as far as the mindset is concerned.
So I think I wouldn't change anything, because I think the first time I used Vinny to help with my mindset and stuff, I think it was a beautiful story of how Anawat Kausamrit, one of the most famous Thais in history, smashed me to absolute pieces in our first fight. And then 6 months later, we have a rematch and I schooled him and won easy. I think that was a beautiful story. So I wouldn't ever want to change that. That was one of the greatest memories in my entire life, one of my best memories. And I know it's one of Vinny's favourite memories as well. So Yeah, I think I needed sort of that to set me on this mindset journey. So I wouldn't change any of that. And
Yeah.
ever since then, yeah. But it's also, to be fair, it's hard getting hold of my thoughts sometimes because I said to you earlier, my brain's just all over the place with scattered thoughts and everything, and it's
Yeah.
hard to get concentrate sometimes. But the older I've got, the more I've found out about myself, and the more I've learned to get hold of my thoughts and things like that. And I wouldn't change any of it because it's been quite a
Yeah.
nice journey getting to, like, throughout my career, seeing how my brain reacts to certain things and getting
Yeah.
hold of it. And I
Hmm.
read a lot about ADHD and things like that now, and it's been nice understanding more about my brain and how it works and why I do certain things and why sometimes my brain acts certain ways. And now, when my
Yeah.
brain does start to do that, I've got a few little personal techniques and stuff that I do now to just help switch off and stuff. So it's been a
Yeah.
nice journey, really. So I won't actually change any of it.
Got it. Yeah. So let's jump into one of your, one of your most memorable fights, one of the probably the best fights, in 2022, that incredible first round win against Muangthai. And, not only me saying it, but I think just unanimously agreed around the world, that's probably one of the best rounds in Muay Thai history. And for those that haven't watched it, go straight to YouTube, Liam Harrison versus Muangthai, and just watch that if you want to see an amazing, dramatic, and the commentators are going crazy throughout that round. At the beginning of it, you catch a kick and you sweep him, right? And obviously that, how important is it to get early scores for you, scores on the doors in a fight like that?
To be perfectly honest, in that fight, it didn't matter because my game plan in that fight, I knew he was going to start pressing. And my
Yeah,
game plan in that fight was when he started to look to elbow, I'll find a gap to punch and knock him out.
yeah,
It all just went out the window because I didn't expect him to throw an head kick that early in the fight.
yeah,
So, like, when I threw him on the floor, when I swept him like that, when you're fighting, I always say the worst thing a fighter can do is think. All your thinking should be
right.
done in the gym. All your
Yes,
thinking
yes.
should have been done in training.
Hmm.
When you're fighting, you're just reacting. You're reacting
Yeah.
to what's happening. So when I caught his kick and just swept him, I wasn't
You're
thinking to
you're
do
you're in
that.
flow at that moment. You're
Yeah,
in
of
what
course.
what
Yeah,
we call
yeah,
flow. Yes,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I wasn't
So I'm
thinking
gonna
to do
lead to
that.
that because I work with a lot of fighters, flow is a state that they find so hard to get. And I think with experience and your, with mindset, that can be part. Then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. So that head kick, let's not underplay that. That cuts you open and that knocks you down to the ground. And usually when that happens, it usually goes downhill from there. So what's going on then in your mind?
So I've said this a few times. When you fight in the 4 ounce gloves, there's a lot of things you can do different. And there's a lot of things you can't do when you've got the big 8 ounce gloves on. So with an 8 ounce glove on, I'd have trapped that kick. This is
Yeah,
what I try to
it
do.
looks like you defend it, right? It's
Yeah,
hard to
so
see where the cut comes from. Yeah.
I'd have trapped it like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the front part of the glove would have covered my chin and my head.
Yeah.
But because I had a fucking 4 ounce glove on, I've gone like that, completely misjudged it. There's been no cushion from the 8 ounce gloves, and the
Mhm.
front of his shin's just hit me in the face.
Wow. Wow.
And it were like, and I remember thinking, I lied on my back, looking at the lights, and I said to myself, you caught that. And
Yeah.
obviously I clearly didn't because I misjudged it.
Yeah.
So then I've got up and tried to it were only a flash knockdown.
Yeah.
And before I could even shake it off, he's launched himself back in and put me on floor
And
again.
knocks you down again, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel concussed? Are you feeling dazed at this moment, or because
I've
we're
got a
wondering
good,
whether you're going to even get back up after that second
yeah,
because it happens so close in proximity to the
yeah.
first knocks down. It's like
I've got a
we
good
don't
chin
see
and
that.
I've got good
Yeah.
recovery time. So you can see from my legs, like when I got back up, my legs were solid both times. It wasn't like I was wobbling
Yeah.
around. They were both just flat knockdowns. And to be
Mm.
fair, that second one really woke me up, and I was just like, right, let's fucking come on,
Yeah.
get your shit together. You're not losing here. There's a lot going on here, especially because I've not fought for one championship for like 2 years because of COVID. All right, come on, get your shit together. You
So you're
sort this
still
out.
motivating yourself. You're still mentally, you're still in the fight, and mentally,
Yeah, I
you
wasn't dazed. I
yeah,
wasn't confused. I knew exactly what was going on. I was thinking, right, he's going to come for you now. I remember
yeah,
thinking at the time, thinking he's going to leave a gap here.
yeah,
All you have to do is land one bomb and he will go.
yeah.
And then I did it. He left a gap and I landed a massive right hand and then I knocked him down. And then that was, you saw the difference of like when I
Yes.
went down and I got up, my legs were solid. When he went down and he got up, he was wobbling all over the place. So I knew it was finished then.
Yeah, so because you knocked him down several times after that, and
Yeah.
from the first time that you knocked him down, how, do you think you have it in the bag at that point,
Yeah, and I
or are
knew.
you still, because when he knocks you down, he's thinking, yes, I got this in the bag. Then you come back and you're knocking him down. Are you still think, oh, this might be a back and forth?
No, I knew. Fighting's a very intimate thing, and I could see the cameras don't pick this up, and the people in the crowd don't pick this up. But when you're fighting someone, it's very intimate, and you're looking this far away from each other's face,
Yes.
right
Yeah.
in each other's eyes. And I could
Mhm.
see his eyes were rolling around his head, and I knew he was finished. I knew I'd just have to put it on him and just land a few more times, and he'd go. Like I say,
Yeah.
it's when you're in that much close quarters with someone, you can read what's going on, and I knew he was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the referee kind of waves it off, then how are you feeling? And then and also, what was the reaction from from the community afterwards?
It was quite hard to believe what had just happened because when I got out the ring, I got my 100 grand bonus. Got out the ring, I thought I'd broke my hand,
Hmm.
and when I went to the back, the doctor cut my glove off and cut my wrap off. My hand was really swollen, and he went, "Oh, I think you broke your hand." Straight to hospital. So they like put my shorts on for me. Someone were dressing me. I was going, "I can do this myself." And they went, "No, we'll dress you." They put
Yeah.
my shorts back on, put a t-shirt on me, took me outside. The next minute, I was sat in the back of an ambulance. And I'm thinking, eh, has this just happened? And then Richard and my other coach, John, got in. And we were looking at each other. I went, did that just happen? Did that? And they're both like looking, going, I think it did just happen. It was like we couldn't believe it because I'd just been
Yeah.
ushered out. I didn't have time to do anything. I had
A
to
bit
get
of
on stage
history,
time.
a bit of history was made in that brief round.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like everyone, I find it hard to believe. And then I FaceTimed my missus and my mum and dad back home. And then it was like starting to set in. I go, wow, that just did just happen. And then, but
Yeah.
I didn't have time to like any celebrate or anything like that. I just been ushered out, thrown it back in an ambulance. I'm in
Yeah.
hospital, getting my hand X-rays, and luckily it wasn't broke. It was really badly swollen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was crazy. It was hard to like. I didn't sleep for 2 days. 2 days.
Well,
So
with the buzz of
yeah.
the
So
yeah.
that fight was. I fought about 7. No, I fought about 9 p.m. at night. By the time I'd pissed around in the hospital and got X-rayed and stuff like that, I got back to the hotel at midnight. All the fighters were having a drink and stuff. We all had a drink. It got to like 5 a.m. Everyone went to bed, and I was buzzed. I just went walking around Singapore on my own. I was just to fucking try and. I was that full of adrenaline and emotion from
Yeah.
what had happened. Yeah, and then I walked around Singapore for a couple of hours, and then the
With a
sun
big
were
grin on
out.
your face, I imagine.
Yeah, I walked around for a couple of hours. I went and got some food, and then came back to the hotel. And then I went to the pool. I sat in the sun for a little bit,
Hmm.
and then next thing I knew, it was breakfast. So we had breakfast, and then someone said, "Right, Chappie wants to have a meeting with you later on." So I didn't get time to go to sleep again. And before
Yeah.
I knew it again, I thought, hang on, I thought I've not been to sleep since the night of the weigh-in here, and this was
Yeah.
2 days after now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's buzzed. Yeah, it
Yes.
was crazy. Yeah.
Right. Well, I got two more questions. I'm gonna let you go. The first one is just for a bit of advice for fighters that going through the mental challenges and like you said, the voices, the doubts, the worry, the anxiety. What couple, from your long illustrious career, what advice could you give? What
Well,
would you say?
if you're having any doubts and anxieties and you're worried and all this and that and the other, just think why you're doing it. No one's forcing
Mm,
you to do it. No, if you've been matched to a fight and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm really nervous, I'm really worried," no one's forcing you to do it. You're
yeah.
doing it because you love it. You love it, and you want to test your skills against someone else's. All these things you learn in the gym, you want to put your skill set to the test and see what you've been learning and put it into action. So no one's forcing you to do it. I always say that. So just think why you're doing it because you love this sport and you want to test yourself. It's not like a massive war. It won't be the end of the world. Just get in there. Win,
Hmm.
lose, or draw does not matter. Just fight your hardest because when you get out of that ring, there's only one person you're going to have to look at, and that's yourself. And if you get out of that ring knowing you could have done more, then you will be better look at yourself in the
Yeah.
mirror. And there's no worse feeling than thinking you've let yourself down.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just think about why you're doing it. No one's forcing you. Try and use those anxieties and the nerves to your benefit because when you are a bit on edge and a bit anxious and a bit nervous, it'll make you fight better. 100%. Your defense will be better. all your senses will be better. You'll be that little bit sharper, a little bit faster. I always say that to people. So yeah, just think about why you're doing it. What's your why?
What's
Why
your
is you
why?
doing it? What's your why?
Absolutely.
Ask yourself what your why is. Why
Mhm.
you're doing it? Because you wanna. Because you wanna prove
Yeah.
yourself. You wanna earn respect of someone. You wanna test yourself. Everyone's got a different why. Ask yourself what your why is, and then ask yourself: is the juice going to be worth the squeeze?
Yes. Well said. And last question, Liam. What matters most to you?
You know what? I used to think it were always about winning fights and winning titles, and that's all. I thought, yeah, I need to win this belt, I need to win that belt, I need to win this, I need to win that. And then the older and wiser I've got, I realised it's not about that at all, really. Uh, it's about earning the respect of your peers, which I'd like to think I've done after some of the fights I've been involved in, and earning the respect of the fans who are paying their hard-earned money to watch you fight and wanting to keep them happy. That's the thing. I want to keep the fans happy when I'm fighting. If they're paying their money to come buy a ticket, if they're taking time out of their day to tune in while they're even at work and you're fighting in a different country, but they're taking time out, they need to be entertained. That's the most important thing. The respect of your peers and the entertainment of the fans. That's what's most important.
Lovely. Yeah, cheers for that. I hope that was engaging. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's a little bit
sharing.
different to other stuff. Yeah, I like doing them because I get asked the same shit all the time. So that was
Right.
nice to have something a
Yeah.
little bit different to talk about. Yeah, good that, mate. Nice
Good,
one.
good, good.